All right, thrilled to be joined again by Gregg Zaun. Thank you so much for taking the time, man. Really appreciate you lending us your insight on so little notice here. I know you don't follow the league quite like you used to, but I also know you have some firsthand experience with some of this stuff. So appreciate you letting us pick your brain.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, so big week for Blue Jays fans. Tuesday night, the Toronto Blue Jays signed George Springer to 6 years, $150 million. And obviously, we can talk the contract and the value and all that sort of stuff. But as a guy who played with the Jays, as a guy who reported on them for years, did you ever see this Jays management team spending $150 million on a player?
Well, yeah. I mean, it just comes down to necessity. They had to. George Springer's value, his real value, and we have to exclude the Toronto market because it's a totally different, unique market. His real value for me would have been about a 4-year deal worth anywhere between 25 and 30 on an AAV. That would have been what I would have gone. That would have been the limit for where I would have gone. But it's Toronto. You have to overpay to get players to come here in their prime free agent years. There's just no other way to say it. Guys don't want to play here, so they have to give them more of an incentive to come here.
Right. I'm like, that's such a huge signing. It's the biggest free agent signing in Toronto Blue Jays history. And as a player, when a management group goes out and signs a significant free agent of this magnitude, what does that do for team morale? I mean, this clubhouse has got to be excited about this. Does it make that big of a difference?
Oh yeah. It's a signal. It's definitely a signal to management to the players that management is serious, because I'll be the first one to argue that if your team's owned by a conglomerate like Rogers, they're not actually interested in winning. They've got an algorithm, a formula for how much money they need to spend to look like they care. But at the end of the day, it's one of two things. It's either bottom line, or the big corporation is using any losses that the little corporation, i.e. the Blue Jays, if they lose money, it's a big write-off.
Right.
Plain simple, it's business, my friend. When you have a situation like the New York Yankees or the Detroit Tigers when Ilitch was the owner, you get into some measuring contests when it comes to free agents, both preseason and at the deadline when there's trades to be made. Those are important kind of nuances that get lost when your team's owned by a giant corporation. So it comes down to bottom line. That's what it is. But when you look at, and this may fall well within their algorithm, so to speak, of what it looks like to be competitive. They've pretty well got the fan base off their back now. They can say, hey guys, we spent $150 million on George Springer. What do you want from us? It's the coach's fault. It's the other player's fault for not getting the job done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what they've done effectively with one player. Is they've got the fan base off their back for basically the next four years, because you're not paying for what George Springer is going to be worth or how good he's going to perform in year 5 and 6. You paid $150 million. You basically paid him $150 million for 4 years, because if he's like everybody else, he'll be on the decline the last 2 years of that contract. And people are going to be – then the other thing happens where they start MFing the organization. Like, how did you saddle us with this deal?
That's
what's going to happen at the end of the day. So the Jays have a 4-year window to win the World Series, or otherwise it's going to be a complete and epic fail.
Right. Otherwise, everyone's going to be like, we're paying a DH $22 million a year. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they already got a 21-year-old DH, so they don't need another one.
Frick, isn't that true?
Yeah, the savior, uh,
Yeah.
you know, Vladdy Jr., the savior.
Took him 2 years of Major League Baseball to get in shape.
I wouldn't even call what he is in shape right now. He still looks pretty doughy to me.
So I'm curious, my man, when you upgrade a premium position like center field, how much do you think that'll help? I mean, Teoscar Hernandez, he broke out last year offensively, but I swear to God, watching him defensively in center field gave me fits. Obviously, Springer's a big upgrade over Rendell Grisham, both defensively and offensively. How much does a move like this improve a young team?
Oh, it's massive. I mean, when you build an organization, you start with your up the middle players: catcher, shortstop, second baseman, center field, and the pitching. You know, the corner guys, I mean, let's be honest. Manny Ramirez played left field. You know, that's where the left field's where you stick your guy that can really bang but can't field. Right field's usually a guy with a big arm, maybe a big bat, but and the corners are where you got the less defensive prowess. If you're soft up the middle or weak up the middle defensively, you're never going to be a good ball club ever. And this is a huge, huge, huge move for the Jays, and I applaud them for understanding the difference in this market versus everywhere else. You can't approach building a team in Toronto the same way you do everywhere else. Mm-hmm. It's got to be heavy on player development. When you identify good young players, you have to lock them down. You give them for me, I always say I'll take a beating in arbitration once. So I get them to their arbitration year. I take a beating in arbitration. Let them hammer me because they earned it, right?
Yeah.
Good. But after that fourth year, that's when I lock them up. That's when I try to lock up my young talent because they're a proven commodity at that point. They've got, after 4 years, they should be approaching that 1,500 plate appearance number that's really, really telling as to what kind of player you are. And that's the time when you lock them up. These teams that are locking players up in their first year of arbitration eligibility, like, come on. The guy's a knee injury away from being a completely different player. You got to wait 4 years to do it, in my opinion. But that's how you have to approach things here. You got to develop hard in the minor leagues, and then you sprinkle in a big-time free agent like a George Springer when you get an opportunity. And Lord knows Rogers has got plenty of money. They've got the money.
Yeah.
And you had to go that extra year, no doubt.
And that's why you need a good young core, correct? Is that in the case of the Blue Jays, they're going to need to overpay in free agency every single time. So you almost need those young prospects coming up that are cheap and controllable to kind of offset that at the back end of the contract, right?
Absolutely, 100%. And your role players should, in my opinion, should always be your veteran leader type guys that still have some game left, but play the game the right way, that set the tone, that police the clubhouse. Your role players in today's game cannot be young first or second year players. There's no way that works in my mind. I got to have guys who I can look to as a general manager or a manager and say, listen, I've got my hands full with this, that, and the other thing. I need you to hammer down on these young guys, teach them how you do it the right way. Luckily for the Jays, you're talking about a bunch of legacy kids. You got at least 3 kids in that clubhouse whose dads were solid major league ball players. And I'm not talking about D-bags. I'm talking about legit guys. Like Dante Bichette was, a rock. Vladdy, awesome dude. I played against him. He's a great guy, great in the clubhouse. Biggio, played with Biggio. I mean, just an angry, grinder, just a great dude, right? Those kids learned how to play the game the right way. But you sprinkle in a couple of key free agents like a Springer, a couple of veteran role players here and there, kind of at the the latter third of their career, and bingo, you got something. That's how you do it.
So we both know that if you're looking for positivity, Twitter isn't normally where you would turn. Obviously, a lot of excitement is present there nonetheless on George Springer. There is, however, a portion of the Blue Jays fan base that says stuff like, oh, great, we're signing a cheater. We paid a bunch of money to a cheater. How do you
Oh,
feel about that narrative?
good God. Get over it, people.
Right?
Like, seriously, this cancel culture that we live in, it's just such a joke. Like, get over it, people. Like, honestly, they don't know what they're talking about. First of all, sign stealing's been going on forever. It's still going on. The Yankees, Boston, they were involved in electronic sign stealing back when I was playing. There's no other explanation for how good they were at it. I don't care. If you're what we've done effectively is we've lowered the level of excellence across the board worldwide so that everybody can participate. Yay, everybody gets a trophy. You can all be big leaguers. If you're not smart enough to employ difficult signs and be able to change them periodically throughout the game, throughout the week, throughout the season, you deserve to get your signs stolen in your head and kicked in. I'm sorry. And you know what? They were outed. They've been embarrassed. And you know what? Get on with it. Like, really, who cares whether George Springer was a member of the Houston Astros? Joey Cora just got hired back as the manager of the Red Sox. AJ Hinch is back in the game managing that too. Move on, get past it, but don't think for 1 second that it's not still going on. People are just getting better at it, and it's so Major League Baseball, in my opinion, when it comes to this kind of thing, it's hypocritical because the game has gone so high tech. So walk down this path with me, and we've probably gone down it before, but it's one of my favorite paths to walk. Okay. Oh, let's tech this out. Let's tech that out. Let's tech this out. Sign stealing's okay, but you're not allowed to do it with electronics. Technology is great everywhere else in the game except for stealing signs.
Yeah, it's insane.
Give me a break. Give me a break. So you're telling me that you can use algorithms, computer programs, biomechanical analysis to figure out where to pitch a guy, where not to pitch a guy, what the tendencies of a pitcher are. How is that not giving your team an edge? The people that use technology the best are the ones that end up with the best results. They have the best players and they use technology best. That marriage of those two things creates championships in today's game. So why are you telling me that it's okay to use technology to gain an edge over here, but it's not okay to use it over here? It's completely hypocritical.
Oh yeah.
It just needs to stop. You know what? Fine. Go ahead. 2004 when I came to the Blue Jays, because our organization at the time had a bunch of knuckleheads on the mound. They could not use a difficult set of signs. In fact, every time I tried to employ major league caliber signs, the guys that had come through the Blue Jays organization were like, "Oh, it's messing with my timing. I need to get it and go. I can't do more than one thing at once. I can't walk and chew gum at the same time." That's literally the response that I got. And I was like, all right, I threw my hands up and I said, "Oh, is there any doubt why every time you get a runner at second base, somebody hits a double?" Hey, It's your ERA, pal, not mine.
Yeah.
Wear it. People need to get over this. They got nothing better to do.
It's very true. And I mean, again, Twitter is where you find just the worst takes you can possibly find, but I had to ask you about it because I knew you were passionate.
Oh, yeah. I think sign stealing's fantastic. Keep doing it. Just don't get caught.
Out of curiosity, Greg, did you hear about the Michael Brantley fiasco?
Oh, yeah. I heard all about it.
So all the major sports networks announced him to Toronto for 3 years on the insight of Ken Rosenthal and Hazel Mae, two fairly credible and respected reporters in the baseball world. And then they had to backpedal because that was completely wrong, and he was actually going to Houston for 2 years. So the term was wrong, the city was wrong. Now, you've been on both sides of this, right? You've played the game. You've been in the sports broadcaster world. When something like this happens, a guy is literally announced by major sports networks to the wrong team by a trusted guy like Ken Rosenthal.
Wait.
How does this happen?
Wait. Don't be throwing Kenny under the bus. Where do you think he got the story? Let's get that out.
Yes. Okay. So even Hazel, like,
Thank you.
is this on? This is on the journalist then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sorry, but it's you know what? Everybody's got to reap what they sow. Okay. You know, you got to walk. You got to if you're gonna throw people under the bus for, and I'm not talking about you personally. I'm just talking about in general. You're gonna throw people under the bus. You know, like it'd be like me getting a story from Jamie Campbell. If I called Jamie and he said, "Oh, bait, did you hear about this?" Or I called him and I said, "Jamie, you got any insight on that?" And he verified the story for me. I would be able to, with 100% certainty, throw that out there into the world because I know Jamie's done his diligence.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that the people that jumped on the story second, third, fourth were going off the credibility, so to speak, of the lead journalist, which we know who that is.
Yes.
Okay.
So what would make her jump the gun like this?
We also know that same journalist had reported earlier, I don't know if it was a week or so, that the Blue Jays were going to be playing their home games in Pittsburgh with no uncertain terms. Said that they were going to be playing those games in Pittsburgh. Where are they playing their home games?
Dunedin. Yeah.
Either that or Buffalo. It's not Pittsburgh.
No, it's not
we've
Pittsburgh.
had not one gaffe, but two gaffes by the same reporter.
Huh.
So just want to make sure we clarify that. But now we can go on to the story because I love Kenny Rosenthal, had a good working relationship with Hazel. But at the end of the day, you know, people need to be held accountable for what they put into the world.
Well, the sports not analyst world, broadcast world, I guess, the reporter side of things, it has kind of come to this you got to get the story out there first. Yep. Who gets it first? Who gets credit first?
Who really cares?
Well, that's my question to you. Like, as someone who was on both sides of this, what is that process of breaking stories like? And I know you were more on the analytics side once the story was broken, but you've watched how it went down, having sources. Like, how does that even go down? Like, does a team literally leak something to their favorite journalist? Is it just that easy?
Of course they do. So do players. There's a rat in every clubhouse. Seriously.
Yeah.
There's a rat in every clubhouse. There's also, sources in the front office. Yeah. No, my wife's asking me if she can vacuum. I said, yeah, do it in the other room. But yeah, it's there's always they leak sources. I mean, just look at the way the headlines go. Jay's interested in so and so. Yeah, what? What does that mean? Does it mean that you follow him on the internet? Do you? Of course you're you should be interested in every single good player that's available on the free agent market that you can afford. You're not telling me anything. And it just drives me nuts. Like, you get these writers like Morosi or Rosenthal, who I absolutely have the enormous amount of respect for. I mean, Kenny and I go way back to my rookie year in Baltimore. But the point is these people are just throwing out clickbait. They're throwing out clickbait just to make it look like they're scooping some story. And at the end of the day, I don't even care who got it first, because 5 minutes later, it's everywhere. Like, I get on my friends on Facebook for thinking that they're journalists. Like, up here in Toronto, we got a bunch of Buffalo Bills fans. And every time there's a piece of news on somebody that plays for the Buffalo Bills, somebody will post it on their Facebook feed as if I wasn't going to get it from a reputable news source anyways.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't work for the network, dude. Why are you posting this crap on your Facebook page? You're not a journalist. I don't care about your opinion. You're not a journalist. So, like I said, who cares who got it first? It's going to be everywhere in 5 minutes. And if I'm a journalist, my reputation is paramount. You think that Hazel is ever going to get an interview with Michael Brantley ever again, or anybody in that organization? You think anybody will talk to her?
No.
Probably not. It only takes one. I mean, the cancel call. I'm actually surprised that with those two gaffes in the span of less than a couple of weeks, that she's still employed. Most people would have been fired for that.
Yeah. Big gaffes, big gaffes, man.
especially the Brantley one. That's I've seen people fired over stuff like that before.
Well, it's crazy that it happened. Like, it's crazy it went down that way.
It's insane that it happened. So one of two things: either she's not telling the truth about what she heard, or she's got bad sources.
Yeah. Either way, pretty unacceptable. But
no, it's totally unacceptable. You have to get stuff like that correct.
my man, your insight is always so appreciated, and always appreciate you taking the time to join us. I know this one was really last minute, and it means a lot. Before I let you go, do you mind if we do a little free agency fact or fiction here for you?
Not at all.
Okay. So this is what we're going to do. Free agency fact or fiction when it comes to luring free agents north of the border. Are the following free agent obstacles true or false? Okay. Taxes. Honestly, does it hinder free agents being lured north of the border? Fact or fiction?
Yes. Toronto has the highest taxes of any team in the major leagues.
So that does go into play when a player is considering. Absolutely.
Okay.
Playing surface. And I know the Jays have done a lot, especially on the infield, to improve this. But does it still play a factor in luring an outfielder as a free agent to Toronto?
No.
No, it doesn't.
No way.
Okay.
Let me just clarify that.
Yeah.
The surface, it's not the old school AstroTurf that I came to Toronto and played on in 2004. That was like playing on concrete, and it was dangerous, and it actually cut years off guys' careers. The stuff that they're playing on now, it's very, very forgiving. Very forgiving. Plays like grass.
Having to go through customs every time you go on the road or come home, is that something any free agents consider?
It's a joke. It's literally this: you get off the plane, your private plane, you walk down the back of the plane, you walk into a private jet terminal, you flip open your passport, I don't have anything to declare, and you walk by. It's literally like wave you through. Half the time, the wands that they have when they get them on, they're not even on.
Okay. And the last one here, Greg, and I know you haven't dealt with this, but I can imagine you can give a little insight here. For this year in particular, the uncertainty of where the Jays were playing. I mean, they just found out that it's most likely Dunedin. They're definitely not going to be in Toronto until at least August or September. Would that make a difference?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. But I can tell you this, the ballpark in Dunedin, it's an absolute bandbox. I think that's a horrible idea. The wind in that stadium is going to be a ridiculous factor. There's going to be days when pop-ups to shortstop are going to fly out of the ballpark.
So if you were the Jays management, would you be trying really hard to be back in Buffalo?
But then again, if you're a Blue Jays player, because the games are actually taking place in Florida, you're not paying state income tax. So you actually get to keep more of your money if you play in Dunedin than you do in Buffalo. Because you're going to be subject to every single one of your home games is going to be subject to New York tax or Florida, and there is no state income tax in Florida. So the players
there is a little bonus to playing in Florida then. All right.
Oh yeah. That's why I don't understand how the Tampa Bay Rays and the Marlins aren't two of the most attractive places to play in the game, because there's no state income tax there, Texas or Washington State.
Oh, really? I didn't know about Washington. There you go.
Seattle Mariners, you don't pay state income tax.
Honestly, Mr. Zaun, thank you so much, my man. Really appreciate you taking the time here. Again, I know how last minute this was, and it means the world that you came on and did the show. Thank you.
My pleasure, my friend.
All right. We'll talk later. Cheers.